Have you ever wondered why some people seem to get everything they want while others repeat the same struggles year after year? Here's the brutal truth. Your weaknesses aren't small flaws. They're silent assassins, slowly dismantling your potential every single day. Most people think weakness is just a part of their personality, something they were born with. But Machiavelli would tell you that's a lie. Weakness is not natural. Weakness is programmed. And every single day you tolerate it, you're giving it permission to rule you. Because in this world, you're not rewarded for your intentions. You're rewarded for your strength, your strategy, and your results. Today, I'm going to show you how to identify the weaknesses that have been quietly sabotaging your life, and how to eliminate them before they destroy everything you've built. But first, let's ask something uncomfortable. What if everything you were taught about being kind, patient, and good was designed to make you controllable? 1. Weakness is programmed, not natural. From the moment you were born, society began training you to be manageable. You were told to always apologize, even when you weren't wrong, to put everyone else's needs before your own, to avoid standing up for yourself because it might make others uncomfortable, to accept mediocrity because everyone's doing their best, to wait for permission before chasing your dreams, to feel guilty for wanting more than others. This isn't education. It's social conditioning. And the goal of that conditioning? To produce compliant, predictable people who never question the system that keeps them small. You see it in your daily habits. You check your phone first thing in the morning, letting other people's priorities hijack your mind before you've even chosen your own. You say yes to things you don't want, just to avoid the discomfort of saying no, even though every unwanted yes is a betrayal of your real desires. You downplay your achievements so others won't feel insecure. You avoid difficult conversations, letting small problems rot into big ones. Machiavelli once wrote, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves." You must be both the fox to see traps, the lion to scare away wolves. But you've been trained to be neither. You've been trained to be prey. Every time you tolerate disrespect, every time you silence yourself to keep the peace, every time you let guilt talk you out of your ambitions, you're reinforcing the code of weakness. And the most dangerous part? You've been taught that strength is selfish, that boundaries are mean, that ambition is greedy. Meanwhile, the people who taught you those rules don't follow them. Successful people don't get there by being endlessly accommodating. They get there by being strategic, selective, and disciplined. The good news: once you recognize this programming, you can delete it. Start questioning everything you've been told about politeness. Ask yourself, does this belief serve my goals, or does it keep me small? When someone calls you selfish for prioritizing your growth, understand they're not protecting you. They're protecting their comfort. And when people say you've changed, treat that as confirmation that you're finally growing. 2. Weakness makes you a target. Here's a truth most people can't handle. The world is divided into two kinds of people: those who take what they want and those who accept whatever's left. Your weaknesses aren't harmless. They're neon signs that say, "You can take advantage of me." Look at your workplace. Who gets promoted? The person who works the hardest, or the one who knows how to make their value visible? Who gets their ideas noticed? The quiet, loyal worker, or the one who positions themselves strategically? Look at your relationships. Who holds more power? The one who cares more, or the one who can walk away? The one who accepts mistreatment to avoid being alone, or the one who knows their worth and demands respect? When you signal weakness, people test you. They dismiss your opinions because they know you won't fight back. They disrespect your time because you never protect it. They downplay your dreams because you won't defend them. People don't respect what they can control. They respect what they can't. Machiavelli said, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." He didn't mean cruelty. He meant that your boundaries should inspire hesitation. Being feared simply means people know there are consequences for crossing you. When people respect you, they think twice before wasting your time. They weigh their words carefully before testing your limits. They treat your opinion as valuable because you don't give it away easily. But every time you allow disrespect to slide, you're teaching the world that mistreating you has no cost. Your weakness becomes their opportunity. Your hesitation becomes their leverage. And worst of all, even the people who benefit from your weakness eventually despise it. So make this your mantra. I choose respect over approval, strength over comfort. 3. Comfort is the enemy of power. Comfort feels good, but it's killing your growth. The pursuit of comfort is the quietest form of self-destruction. Look around you. How many people do you know who are living the same life they were 5 years ago? Same job, same excuses, same limits. That's not coincidence, that's comfort. Comfort robs you of 4 things: your potential. Every easy choice kills a bit of who you could become. Your skill. Growth needs resistance. Your confidence. Real confidence is built through surviving discomfort, not avoiding it. Your opportunity. The best chances always come wrapped in risk. Machiavelli warned, "Whoever wishes to foresee the future must consult the past." And history shows, those who avoid discomfort today suffer far worse pain tomorrow. The one who avoids hard conversations ends up trapped in toxic relationships. The one who avoids risk gets passed by hungrier competitors. The one who avoids emotional pain ends up living a safe but empty life. Every powerful person you admire learned to find peace in discomfort. They took the call that scared them. They made the move everyone warned them against. They invested in themselves when it was risky. They started before they felt ready. The more you embrace discomfort, the more power you gain, because you stop fearing life itself. Write this down. I embrace discomfort as the price of my evolution. 4. The 4 lies that destroy your power. There are 4 lies society feeds you to keep you weak. Let's expose each one. Lie 1. Good things come to those who wait. No, they don't. Good things come to those who move. While you're waiting for the perfect moment, someone else is already claiming what could have been yours. Waiting is just a polite form of self-sabotage. Lie 2. Everyone deserves respect. No one does until they earn it. Giving respect blindly devalues your own worth. Respect is currency. If you give it to everyone, it becomes worthless. Lie 3. Just be yourself and people will like you. Not true. If your current self is insecure, passive, or afraid to say no, you'll only attract people who benefit from that version of you. To attract respect, you must evolve, not perform, but transform. The real you isn't who you are right now. It's who you become when you stop living for approval. Lie 4. Everything happens for a reason. No. Things happen because of choices, your choices, or someone else's. Believing everything is fate is the ultimate victim mindset. You are not a spectator in your own life. You're the author. Machiavelli once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." So stop appearing weak by believing these lies. They exist for one reason: to keep you compliant, patient, and waiting for permission. Instead, say this to yourself: I reject comfortable lies and embrace uncomfortable truths. 5. Replace emotion with calculation. This is where most people lose the game. They make emotional decisions and then scramble to justify them logically. Successful people do the opposite. They make logical decisions and then manage their emotions around those decisions. When someone disrespects you, your emotion says, "Get angry." Your calculation says, "What reaction serves my long-term power?" When an opportunity appears, your emotion says, "What if I fail?" Your calculation asks, "What's the real risk versus the real reward?" When someone tries to manipulate you, your emotion says, "Maybe they're right." Your calculation says, "What's their hidden motive?" Emotional decision-making is how people destroy their own lives. It makes you reactive instead of strategic. It locks you into temporary feelings that cause permanent consequences. And worst of all, it makes you predictable. When people can predict your emotional reactions, they can control you. They can trigger anger to distract you. They can trigger guilt to control you. They can trigger flattery to disarm you. You think you're free, but you're just dancing to their rhythm. Calculation changes everything. Before responding to anything, ask yourself, what outcome do I actually want here? Before acting, ask, how will this move affect my position 6 months from now? Before engaging with anyone, ask, is this person worth my energy, or am I just feeding my ego? Machiavelli said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." Translation: the wise man acts with clarity now. The fool reacts and pays later. Being calculating doesn't make you cold. It makes you effective. Your emotions are signals, not commands. They tell you what matters, but calculation tells you what to do about it. Your emotion says, "They hurt me." Your calculation says, "What response gives me leverage?" Your emotion says, "I'm excited about this." Your calculation says, "Is it actually worth my time?" Your emotion says, "They disrespected me." Your calculation says, "Will responding now strengthen my image or expose my temper?" When you master this, people stop being able to play you because they can no longer read you. Repeat this until it becomes instinct. I am the master of my emotions, not their slave. 6. The power of strategic detachment. Here's a truth that Machiavelli would whisper into your ear. The moment you become too attached to any outcome, you lose control over it. Attachment makes you predictable, and predictable people are easy to manipulate. When you need someone's approval, they control you. When you need that job, the employer owns you. When you need a relationship to work, the other person has all the leverage. Strategic detachment doesn't mean apathy. It means you care about the outcome, but you're not owned by it. You want success, but you're not desperate for it. You want connection, but you're fine standing alone. You aim to win, but you're unafraid of loss. Machiavelli once wrote, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." In other words, never let loyalty blind you to new realities. Always have alternatives. Never let one person, one plan, or one situation become your single point of failure. Always keep plan B, C, and D waiting in the shadows. When you're detached, you move differently. You negotiate from power, not from fear. You say no easily. You walk away when others cling. You don't need, you choose. When you don't chase outcomes, you attract them. Because now, people sense that your peace doesn't depend on them, and that's what makes you magnetic. Say it out loud. My peace comes from within, not from external validation. 7. Become the consequence. This is the final transformation. The moment where you stop chasing respect and start embodying it. Stop explaining yourself to people who never intend to understand you. Stop apologizing for taking up space. Stop shrinking so others can feel bigger. You are not here to make everyone comfortable with your growth. You are here to rise, even if it makes them uneasy. Machiavelli said, "It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles." Power doesn't come from a label. It comes from how you carry yourself. Be the person who doesn't need to announce their strength, because that everyone feels it. Be the person who doesn't need to prove their worth, because their results already do. Be the person who doesn't need to justify their choices, because their success makes the argument for them. When you truly embody strength, you don't act powerful. You are power. When you embody confidence, you don't need to convince anyone. When you embody success, you don't explain you exist. You become the consequence that others must adjust to, not through aggression, not through arrogance, but through undeniable presence. Your silence becomes heavier than others' words. Your boundaries become louder than their opinions. Your absence becomes more commanding than their attention. This is what Machiavelli meant when he wrote about the prince. Power isn't noise. It's control. Control over yourself. Control over your reactions. Control over your energy. And when you reach that point, the world recalibrates around you. You've now seen what weakness really is. Not a flaw, but a form of surrender. You've seen how it's programmed into you from childhood, how comfort numbs you, how emotion betrays you, and how attachment weakens you. And you've learned what to do instead. Question everything. Think strategically, move with silence, act with detachment, and become the consequence. Because in the end, your weakness isn't your identity. It's just a habit. And habits can be changed. Start today. Most people never realize this, but weakness is not something that happens overnight. It's something that grows slowly, disguised as being nice, being patient, or being understanding. But Machiavelli would tell you that every unguarded virtue becomes a weapon in the hands of the manipulative. Think about it. Every time you stay silent to avoid conflict, you teach people that your peace matters less than their comfort. Every time you explain yourself to someone who doesn't deserve an explanation, you tell them your validation can be bought. Every time you forgive without consequence, you don't heal, you train others to hurt you again. The truth is, people are always observing. They study how far they can push. They test the edges of your tolerance. And the moment they realize there are no consequences, you stop being a person in their eyes. You become a utility. Machiavelli understood this psychological law centuries ago. The person who doesn't enforce respect loses control of how others perceive them. When you let disrespect slide once, it multiplies. When you let people talk over you, they start doing it in public. When you let someone diminish your effort, soon everyone treats your effort as expected. So, you have to learn one of Machiavelli's coldest disciplines: controlled consequence. You don't need to explode. You don't need to scream. You simply remove access. You pull back your energy, your time, your warmth. You let your absence speak the punishment your words don't need to deliver. That's what Machiavelli meant when he said, "Men must either be respected or eliminated." In modern terms, it means people either respect your boundaries or they lose the privilege of being close enough to test them. Now let's talk about your biggest enemy, approval addiction. You've been taught to chase validation since you were a child. From your parents' praise, to teachers' approval, to the social applause you now seek on screens. It's a cycle, and it keeps you weak. When you crave approval, you hand your power to whoever gives it or takes it away. You stop doing what's right for you and start doing what will keep others happy. You smile when you want to speak. You nod when you should disagree. And slowly, your sense of self dissolves. Machiavelli warned against this dependency centuries ago. The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. Translation: stop clinging to past versions of yourself that were built to please others. Break that old promise. You don't need to be liked. You need to be effective. Because in the end, people's approval is temporary. Their respect for strength lasts much longer. And the irony? The moment you stop seeking their approval, that's when they start chasing yours. Detachment doesn't make you cold, it makes you centered. It means you move through the world without begging for acknowledgement. You speak less, but everything you say lands heavier. You show up less often, but when you do, everyone notices. This is the Machiavellian paradox. When you stop needing people, people start needing you. When you stop chasing validation, you become the one who defines it. Let's strip this down to the essence. Weakness is when you make emotions your compass. Power is when you make strategy your map. Stop measuring your actions by how they make others feel. Start measuring them by how they move you closer to your goals. Don't ask, will they be upset? Ask, will this strengthen my position? Don't ask, what will they think? Ask, what will this teach them about my boundaries? Don't ask, what if they leave? Ask, what kind of person walks away when I stop shrinking for them? Once you start thinking like that, the entire power dynamic shifts. You no longer fear loss, you use it. You no longer fear rejection, you study it. You no longer fear solitude, you weaponize it. Because solitude is where every strong mind sharpens itself. The more time you spend in isolation, the more you start hearing your real voice, the one that's been buried under noise and people-pleasing. Machiavelli thrived in solitude. He studied men, not to hate them, but to understand their patterns so he could outmaneuver them. Do the same. Observe the world, but don't belong to it. Engage with people, but don't depend on them. Be present, but never predictable. The people who fear solitude are the ones who never met themselves. The people who master solitude become the ones no one else can control. Here's the final thought for this part. Weakness is not just what keeps you small. It's what attracts the wrong kind of people into your life. Predators smell it. Manipulators sense it. Opportunists feed on it. If you don't eliminate weakness, it won't just destroy your confidence, it will invite your enemies to do it for you. That's why Machiavelli would tell you, before you conquer others, conquer yourself. Before you seek power in the world, build power within. Before you try to change circumstances, remove every trace of victimhood from your mind. Because when you do, when you start thinking strategically, feeling selectively, and moving deliberately, you stop being a pawn on someone else's board. You become the player who controls the game. And once that happens, the world can no longer hurt you. Not because it's safe, but because you've become strong enough to no longer need safety. Let's get one thing straight, people don't follow goodness. They follow gravity. They follow the person whose energy feels inevitable, whose words carry certainty, whose silence demands attention. That kind of power doesn't come from being liked. It comes from mastering yourself so completely that the world has no choice but to adjust to you. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. He wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." That's the essence of power perception. You don't need to show the world who you are. You need to control what they see. When people meet you, they don't see your thoughts or intentions. They see how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you react under pressure. If you want respect, stop performing emotion and start projecting control. If you want influence, stop oversharing and start making your silence valuable. Because when you say less, people imagine more. and imagination always makes you larger than life. Weak men try to prove themselves through words. Strong men prove themselves through restraint. Every sentence you withhold, every reaction you master, adds to your mystery, and mystery is the foundation of authority. You can't command others if you can't command your own impulses. You can't lead if you still crave approval. And you can't be respected if you explain yourself to everyone who misunderstands you. The truth is, power is not about dominance. It's about discipline. Discipline in what you give your time to, what emotions you reveal, and what situations you engage in. The moment you stop reacting to everything, you start controlling the rhythm of every room you walk into. Machiavelli would call this strategic presence. It's not about being everywhere. It's about appearing at the right time, in the right way, and leaving before anyone expects you to. When your presence feels deliberate, your absence becomes powerful. When you're not always available, people start waiting for you. And when people start waiting for you, you've already won. Here's a secret. Fear isn't created through aggression. It's created through unpredictability. When people can't predict your next move, they stop trying to manipulate you. They stop testing you. They start respecting you. That's why you must become unpredictable in calm, not chaos. Be gentle one day, distant the next. Be warm in conversation, then vanish without explanation. Let people feel the edges of your presence and the weight of your absence. That tension, that uncertainty, is where power lives. Because what people can't read, they can't control. And the one they can't control, they can't defeat. So ask yourself, what image are you showing the world? Are you broadcasting your insecurities or curating your aura? Are you reacting to every noise or letting silence work for you? Every move you make either reinforces your strength or reveals your weakness. You can't fake power, but you can build it. One calm decision, one boundary enforced, one emotion mastered. And over time, those moments stack into something unshakable, a presence that doesn't need to prove anything. Because in the end, as Machiavelli would remind you, the most feared person isn't the loudest. It's the one who moves with purpose, speaks with restraint, and acts as if the world already belongs to them. Here's the final truth Machiavelli would force you to confront. Weakness doesn't collapse you in one dramatic moment. It kills you quietly, day by day, through hesitation, over-explaining, and self-betrayal disguised as being nice. You think you're avoiding conflict, but what you're really doing is avoiding growth. You think you're keeping the peace, but you're just keeping yourself small. And here's the brutal reality. Every time you choose comfort over courage, you surrender a piece of your potential. You trade the life you want for the illusion of safety in the life you hate. That's the slow poison Machiavelli warned about. The comfort that softens your edge until you forget you ever had one. He wrote, "It is much safer to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." But fear, in his language, didn't mean terror, it meant respect. To be feared is to be unshakable, self-contained, and immune to emotional manipulation. It means people think twice before crossing you, not because you intimidate them, but because you radiate consequence. And that's what this journey is really about, transforming from someone who asks for respect into someone who embodies it. Because weakness isn't just a flaw, it's an invitation. When you show softness without strength, the world senses it. Manipulators sense it. Opportunists sense it. Even your so-called friends sense it, and they adjust how they treat you. Every moment you hesitate, you teach the world how to underestimate you. So, how do you crush that weakness? You become the one thing the weak can't imitate. Consistent under pressure. You don't react to chaos. You control the tempo. You don't explain your moves. You let results speak. You don't fight for validation. You withdraw. access. You stop chasing closure from others and start creating closure within yourself. Because strength isn't loud, it's quiet discipline. It's the calm in your eyes when everyone else loses theirs. It's the silence that replaces argument. It's the detachment that replaces desperation. Machiavelli believed that real power begins the moment you no longer depend on anyone else to define your worth. He wrote, "It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles." Power isn't something you're given. It's something you project through your posture, your words, your boundaries, and your silence. So let this be your final transformation. Stop seeking permission. Stop apologizing for standards. Stop asking people to understand your decisions. If they can't understand, let them misunderstand. If they can't handle your strength, let them fall away. Because power is never about convincing others. It's about mastering yourself so completely that their opinions lose influence. When you detach from external approval, you become unpredictable, and that unpredictability makes people cautious. When you stop explaining, you become mysterious, and mystery creates gravity. When you enforce silence instead of begging for clarity, people reveal who they truly are. That's the psychology of control, not through force, but through presence. Weakness used to define you. It made you shrink, explain, justify, and tolerate. But from now on, your silence will define you. Your restraint will define you. Your discipline will define you. This doesn't mean you'll never feel fear or doubt. It means you'll never bow to them again. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision that fear no longer dictates your choices. So the next time life tests you, pause. Not to retreat, but to calculate. Not to react, but to choose your move with precision. Every response should serve your long-term power, not your short-term comfort. Every silence should carry weight. Every action should be deliberate. That's how you turn weakness into weaponry. That's how you rise from predictable to untouchable. Because the Machiavellian truth is simple. The world doesn't reward the kind. It rewards the calculated kind. It doesn't bow to the loud. It bows to the composed. And it never remembers those who are merely good. It remembers those who became dangerous with purpose. So from this moment on, stop explaining. Stop waiting. Stop hoping to be seen. Become the one who doesn't need to be noticed, because your presence is already felt. Machiavelli would say that true power begins when others feel your silence more than they trust their own words. Be that silence. Be that storm. Be the consequence they never saw coming. Because when you crush your weakness completely, unapologetically, you don't just survive this world. You start shaping it.